I'm super excited. I wish I could drink my tea, my sour cherry tea from Taylor's of Harrogate, darling. Very posh. But unfortunately I can't drink it yet because it's so hot that it's just going to burn my lower lip off if I try. I meditate, I call the goddess in, I drink some tea, I make some art, I sling some cards. I really take the chance to imbibe the wisdom of the goddess more fully and think about specific things that I want to focus on or specific things that I'm looking to release or to bring in. And that's really my really more intense time with the goddess. Immediately it just looks so imposing and so different. Really beautiful. There's an elegance to it, but there's also a darkness to it, you know, that really kind of would make it stand out, I think, if it was just sat on a table or there was a spread laid out. I mean, it really does get your attention. If all else fails, go to deathbed perspective. Seriously, go right there. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. It has helped me with so many things. Death is the key thing, the key archetype, the key concept, the key event in life that I meditate on perhaps the most, because it is the most instant stimulant, if you like, for getting me back the fuck on track. All right, I'm going to die one day. I don't know when. I don't know when it'll be. All right, but I want to do things now before that happens. To be effectual is wondrous, and to be effectual on behalf of someone else, particularly someone who has less than you or finds themselves in a different kind of bind to you, a different kind of difficult life experience to you, it just feels right. It feels good. It feels like something I should be doing. If you are in a situation at the moment where you are striving for someone's approval, someone's love, someone's acceptance, and constantly feeling rebuffed, rejected, pushed away, you know, if you feel like you're getting scraps from someone's table, but they're not really ever prepared to give you a full meal, they always make you feel like you've got to work so hard for that scrap, and then you're starving hungry again, and you know, they've got nothing for you. If you feel like you're in that situation with someone, I would really recommend that you think about who you're really trying to gain approval from. Is it a parent? Is it a parent? Is it a part of your inner child that is striving so desperately to just be loved unconditionally by mum or dad? Even though we can see logically that we might have spent our time in a more useful way, we still feel very keen to justify the way in which we did spend our time. And that's because it's uncomfortable and it's unpleasant to confront the fact that the time was actually wasted. I would recommend the very first thing that you do is to admit the issue. And one of the best ways, in fact, to do this, I think, is to sit down with a plain piece of paper in front of you and a pen and actually write out in a kind of confessional style, you know, what is actually going on. I do feel that a lot of former witch testimonials, when they talk about why they got into witchcraft or what they were looking for from witchcraft or what they were expecting from witchcraft, I think to myself, well, that was a wrong turn for you, really. You were probably never really supposed to be messing with witchcraft if that's the kind of thing that you thought it was about. So you probably are best off in the flock, as it were, I suppose, if you're going to be anywhere. If you're going to be anywhere, you shouldn't be here, I suppose, dancing with us by the light of the full moon with Satan, you know, obviously. There is a layer or a number of layers of wisdom within me and knowledge within me and power within me that it's quite difficult to get to by just recognizing it and summoning it or calling it forth. In fact, it's nigh on impossible because I've got all these layers of ego, I've got all of this fear, I've got all of this societal expectation, I've got all of this cultural baggage, historical baggage, etc. So for me, my matron deity is a symbol of some of those layers of sediment in my psyche, of wisdom, of strength, of divine feminine history, if you will. And it's the image of her and the relationship that I have with her that allows me to do the psychological dance that I need to do to get to that wisdom. For a lot of people, if they're not willing to make that initial commitment, if they're telling themselves stories about how they've got absolutely no time, they've got a million things they need to do first or whatever, or they just don't have the motivation, they feel lazy about it, they can't do it, I often feel that they're scared of what would happen and how they could level up in their life if they actually did do it, genuinely. I really do believe that whole Marianne Marianne Williamson shizzle about how a lot more people are afraid of their success than they are afraid of their failure, or that we have like basically a deeper fear of our success than we do of our failure. I think we are afraid to shine brightly in the world. I think for a lot of us that is actually the crux of the issue in a lot of cases with a lot of situations. I've watched in the rearview mirror the time someone's pressed my buttons over and over again, known how to manipulate me into the shape they want me to be in. And I've gone willingly. I've exploded into a rage, or I've admitted, yes, take everything, take all my power, take everything I have, manipulate me. I've looked at that and I've thought, there's a button there. There's a button there. And I really need to look at why that's there, and I need to make sure that I know it's there, so I know that when somebody tries to push it, I don't have to respond the way they expect me to or the way they want me to. It doesn't have to go down like that. I'm in control. We don't urge ourselves to think enough about the difference we could make in daily life, because a lot of people that are very spiritual and very motivated by spiritual thinking and spiritual practice are also very highly sensitive, and sometimes they can feel like all the energies that are going on with all of the crap that's happening in the world is really just very overwhelming, and it's kind of it's like a landslide of feeling all the time and having to deal with that. And so actually I think in a lot of ways spirituality and the dialogue around spirituality can be incredibly selfish in its nature, because a lot of it is about, you know, how do we protect ourselves from what's going on in the world? How do we make sure that with our heightened sensitivity and our spiritual perception we don't get trampled underfoot by all this negative energy? And I think those conversations are really important to have, there's no doubt about it. But when we get completely sidetracked with those conversations about how we can protect ourselves and how we can shield ourselves and make sure we're safe, we forget about the conversations that it's absolutely vital that we have as people who claim to be spiritual. And those conversations are around making a difference, helping, showing up, being activists, you know, forging alliances with each other and really showing up for each other and loving and giving and being of service in the world. Am I shirking my accountability? Am I trying to blame others? Am I trying to look to an external situation and say, this is the reason I feel like this is the reason I can't shake myself out of it, this is the reason I can't deal with it? Do I need to bring the responsibility back to me to do what I can to deal with it? But for me, when all else fails, I literally say to myself, darling, you're going to die one day. Do you seriously need to be watching these clips of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Seriously, stop. Do 20 push-ups, go outside, make some notes about something. Seriously, pull yourself out. It's okay. It's all going to be fine. Why? Why do I have to be so honest sometimes? For fuck's sake. Anyway, hopefully that was all helpful. How would somebody get the jackpot out of the slot machine that is you? Alright? And then just really think to yourself, not today, honey bunny, I'm keeping the jackpot for me. Alright? What the fuck is with the slot machine analogy? Where are we? Are we in Vegas? Are we in Vegas yet? Damn it! Anyway, darlings, that's all I've got to say.